So I think we take it now that we're not going to see him in the All Blacks until the end of year tour. And he'll have to play. He'll have to show that he's got the capability.
I like going over there playing too. I think it's actually better for both the home side and the away side, isn't it?
Stag Day down in the deep south.
Well, you made me look at that, you see, and as soon as I enjoyed that.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Always a great day when the All Blacks are announced, Rugby Championship squad, and there's a few eyebrow raisers in it. Joining me to talk about that. Plus, of course, he's had a pretty busy weekend with NPC Rugby kicking off with that fantastic match out of nowhere on Thursday night at Eden Park, Tony. TJ from Sky Sport again. We'll get on to the NPC in a separate segment of this, but just on that, what a way to kick it off. And I spent a fair bit of the weekend just sitting in front of the couch. Oh my God, there's some afternoon rugby on.
Yeah, that was great.
How about that?
Yeah, especially the game at Tauranga.
Yeah, I watched that
which
yesterday.
was a fantastic performance by Bay of Plenty, but the side of those stands nice and full, the sun shining. I think there's got to be more of that NPC. I think it more suits the afternoon, early evening at least. And Stag Day down in the deep south.
Well, you made me look at that, you see, and as soon as I enjoyed that. I didn't.
Those who can remember it will remember a great day.
I didn't enjoy Wellington getting pantsed by Canterbury again, but it just took me back to my whole childhood because it used to happen every bloody second week.
Well, Tasman got beaten as well. Got well beaten. But
you called a great game on Thursday night where to see Lima Sopawanga score a try in the 80th minute. Oh, just something about him and Cruden being on the field. And I was going, what am I in a time warp here?
Well, it's a classic thing about class being permanent, form being temporary. And you could say that both Aaron Cruden and Lima Sopawanga are not at exactly the peak of their careers right now. Of course, they're into their mid-30s, but they have that touch of class about them. And Aaron's great strength has always been his ability to orchestrate a game, and he's still got enough. The skills are all
and
there.
And the nous is there.
And the nous, the smart, the top 2 inches. Yeah. And then Lima comes on. He might be wearing a slightly larger jersey than he used to. I was going to say,
Lima, all respect.
But man, it's still there. And just the way he took it on himself to break the line and stay in support and score that winning try. Auckland, they were very close to putting that one to bed, but they weren't good enough to do it. They'll be gutted by that, but it was just such a great start, and it had people talking about the NPC from the off.
Yeah, a lot of a big learning curve for all the young blokes in the Auckland team too, because there's a big jump up from academy sides and age group sides to playing NPC rugby.
Sure.
And that gap between the club rugby and the NPC, I'm not sure we've quite filled that yet with the academy and stuff.
But this is what's great about having a guy like Lima Sopawanga or Aaron Cruden or some of the guys who've come back from overseas. Look, I remember Matt Cooper used to talk about it. He cut his teeth in club rugby in Hawke's Bay and said just what an education it was, and in the most positive way possible, sitting next to Mark Shaw in the club dressing room. How much
what a legend that man,
absolutely rubs off on you. And probably now NPC is that place.
It needs to be.
And so if you can get the right mix of established Super Rugby players, a couple of veterans maybe coming back for one last season in New Zealand domestic rugby, what better way to introduce the up-and-coming talent, the Rico Simpsons of this world, guys, Johnny Lee's coming out of the under-20 programs in the last couple of years. So that's the beauty of it as well.
Yeah, look, I was watching Harry Godfrey play yesterday, right? And I just thought, this is perfect for him, playing Hawke's Bay. It was just, I don't know. I just enjoyed it over the weekend. I just saw NPC's back, and I loved it. All right. Front row locks haven't changed, except for injury cover as far as the All Blacks are concerned. I want to talk the Loosies to start with. We went in with France with 5 Loosies, 4 locks, one of them being Vaa'i, and he became a Loosie. Rugby Championship, 4 locks, 7 Loosies. However, Jacobson/Lord says 5 and 6, and again, one of them is Vaa'i. But one of the big talking points straight away out of these names, Ardie, Karifi, Satiti, Lakai, Fino, Parker, Jacobson/Lord, and Vaa'i. No Leo Willie.
No.
So what's happened there?
Well, clearly Parker was going to be picked for the French series, but he was injured. And there's a lot to like about the way he plays. He has he's had a terrific season with the Chiefs, obviously. He's a big guy, carries the ball really well, runs good angles. That's one of the things that really impresses. He will find a good line to run, and so he's not just coming straight ahead. He might be coming back that way or going that way to find a weak shoulder, something like that. So I think he was going to be in the side. And it's just a case of they didn't have enough room. Someone had to bow out, and Christian Leo Willie look, he's had the experience of playing with the All Blacks. He'll grow from that. But the fact that they've named Tupou Vaa'i as a lock, to me, says they were struggling to figure out who else they could leave out, because I would have thought that maybe they might have taken one more lock, but they've put Tupou Vaa'i in that position, and yet he played all 3 games against France at 6.
Yeah, and what do you expect him to play?
That's a little bit puzzling to me.
Do you expect him to play? See, against South Africa, I'd say 6. He's absolutely the 6. But against Argentina, would he be put back at lock? Would they really muck him around like that?
Who knows? I think one thing that we did learn from the France series, and certainly it applies to South Africa, possibly to Argentina as well, because they're traditionally strong up front, and you could say Australia as well. This idea of going into a test match with no specialist lock cover on the bench, that to me, I'm not sure about that. So I think you need that. Certainly need that extra player who can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Satiti, is he number 8? Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
They could play him at 6, but I think ideally, if everyone's fit, you may be looking at Artie at 7, possibly Satiti, or they might look at Parker at 8, and then
Vaa'i, yeah.
Is it Vaa'i? Is it Parker at 6? They've got options there, interchangeable. So I think the first 2 matches, let's not forget, they go to Argentina. That's not going to be easy. They're playing one game up country, one in the city, and that'll be challenging enough. But those are going to be so important. I think the other thing about the forwards, you mentioned the front row. Clearly, 2 big injury worries, maybe 3, have emerged in the last week or so. The injury to
Lomax,
yeah. The worry about that is that hand injuries that have had surgery, you're never quite sure about how long they're going to take to fix.
Yep. Clearly they want him back for South Africa, don't they?
Absolutely. Yep. And they've given time frames for all of these players, and if everything goes well, then they will be able to go into that test with Lomax and with Tamaiti Williams probably starting, and Newell and
not a lot of rugby, those guys, for them, Tony.
That's an issue when it's a big player that you're talking about.
And it's against South Africa.
But a match conditioning can be very important. So I think there's got to be a bit of a question mark over that. But look, Fletcher Newell has been fantastic this year. He's played the best rugby of his career. His scrummaging has gone to new heights. So I wouldn't be pressing any panic buttons. I'd just say in an ideal world, that's the lineup that they would have, would be to start with Lomax and Williams, and then have Ethan de Groot and
Fletcher Newell
coming off the bench.
Not a bad bench,
that gives you a really...
Cody Taylor, obviously the number 1, number 2. Yeah.
And Asafo Aumua might have made it back, but clearly the injury's still an issue. And I don't have an issue there. He obviously brings a dynamic kind of game with him. But I thought we saw enough of Brodie McAllister to think, it'd be interesting to see how he goes, give him another couple more opportunities.
Lakai, what's his best spot?
Well, the best thing about him is that he can play 6, 7 or 8. And you've got to have players like that in the mix. It's the same as you've got to have a prop who can play both sides of the scrum. You've got to have a lock who can probably slot in at 6 if need be, or a loose forward who can slot in at lock if things go wrong. I mean, look what happened to the Lions. They lost both of their starting locks in the last test against Australia. So versatility is still important. And I think with Lakai, he's one of those players that you talk about sometimes where it doesn't really matter what the number on the jersey is.
Okay. All right. Halfback, this is a real worry here. I don't want to think about playing South Africa without Cam Roigard. I feel that I feel in New Zealand rugby, the biggest gap is between him and the next guy out of every position we've got. And, this is now Ratima's chance. I mean, he's got to get up to a certain level because we're going to rely on him. Christie comes back in. I thought he was the forgotten man. So, the halfback situation concerns me, but they've named Roigard and Hotham. So obviously, as you say, their timeline is such that they're confident that these guys will be back.
Again, a stress fracture is one of those injuries that has to be managed really carefully, because if it's not completely healed, then it becomes a stress fracture again. Yeah. And if that doesn't heal, I mean, you saw what happened with Richie McCaw in the World Cup in 2011. Now, he got through it. I don't know how. But
a lot of painkillers and a lot of guts.
I think the origins of that might have been a stress fracture.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I can't
pretty sure
remember.
it was, Tony. Yeah, and it just lingered for months, if not a year or more. Didn't
and
it?
So long term, they have to look after him. I agree that people have talked about it. It's no great secret that he is head and shoulders at the moment. In fact, if you look around the world, DuPont is, by reputation and by record, the best halfback in the game at the moment. But I'm not sure that he is very far behind him.
I think he deserves to be rated up there. He really does make that much of a difference to us.
And then you lose Hotham as well, who is starting to emerge as potentially the number 2. And what you like about Hotham is, like Roygaard, he's strong. He's very strong around the fringes, and that power can give you a point of difference. So it probably means a couple of things. First of all, they might have to change the way they play a little bit. And the halfback goes back to that role of where you're clearing the ball, you're kicking the ball. That's your primary function.
Right.
And Christie, very, very quick to the breakdown. That's one of his best assets. I like the look of the new guy.
Preston?
Kyle Preston, yeah.
Yeah, solid season for the Crusaders, so, yeah.
Well,
I'm not convinced with Christie at all, man. Again, I mean, no disrespect, but I think his time is way gone.
But he's got the experience there. He's got the nous. You know, he's a guy who's been around the block, and he's the sort of guy. This is no place to be chucking in someone who's really green. And having said that, of course,
we got
Preston is new,
but
there's so much that impresses about this guy. He looks like he's got an old head on youngish shoulders. You know, he's no spring chicken, he's not just out of school or anything like that. But he immediately caught the eye this year. And what do you like about him? Again, he's strong. He's got a really good kicking game, which is so important at Test rugby. And the most important thing about that is that he can do it equally well off left and right foot.
Right.
And there's not many players can do that. So he's a guy that I think a lot of people thought would have been in the team earlier on in the year anyway. And so now here he is. And it's just one of those scenarios. Yes, there is a gap, but you saw what happened when Dan Carter pulled out of the World Cup in 2011. The message was that everyone else has to lift their game by 2 or 3%, so that this guy doesn't have the whole weight of the world on his shoulders, that it all doesn't come down on him. That it's up to the forwards to present him with good, clean ball from set piece, good, clean ruck ball. Just give him that little bit of extra time and space to do his job, and the guys outside to take some of the heat off him. So that's probably going to be the mindset there. It's a situation that you have to confront these situations when you lose a key player.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
Well, does this change your attitude towards who plays outside him then in that case? Do you go for that Chiefs option and go, so you'd say Ratima and still Beauden Barrett?
I still think Beauden Barrett's the number one
The only
pick.
thing I worry about Ratima as well is I just wonder whether he's quite predictable in his actions and the way he plays and things, and you don't have that little bit of extra you get from Roygaard. I mean, he's a solid player, but he's not exceptional to me at that role yet. This is his chance, so he goes to Argentina with the number 9 on his back, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
So...
And he's there for a reason.
Yeah, of course. Well, he's, and look, none of these names are not there because they can't achieve at this level.
It's just one of those things where if you're the guy that takes over from Richard Hadley with the new ball in the New Zealand cricket team, or from Richie McCaw in the All Black number 7 jersey.
Well, look at what, and Sam Cane played 100 tests, ladies and gentlemen, for our team, and a lot of people, a lot of people still don't rate him despite that.
Well, it's just one of those things, but as I say, it really comes down to the team to make sure that they do everything possible to allow this guy to do what he does well.
Yeah. Okay. Then we go outside that. It's interesting to me as well that Rico is now named as an outside back. So that centre experiment's gone, hasn't it?
By the look of it, yeah, they've got plenty of options in the midfield, and they've beefed up their options on the wing as well. So I don't think there's any surprise there. Let's not forget that Caleb Clark's probably not going to be right for those first couple of games either. He's another one. I don't think I've ever seen an All Black team with so many asterisks beside it. Yeah. He's cover for him,
Guys
he's cover for him, he's cover.
Yeah,
and they end up with 42 players as a consequence. But the other thing there which will delight people is that Leroy Carter has been brought in as a cover player.
Yep.
When you saw him, he obviously had a fantastic Super Rugby season, but then showed his class at centre for Bay of Plenty against Tasman. So I'm sure a lot of people will be happy about that, and he's earned that chance as well. So,
would you have thought about Leicester?
Oh, yeah, that's probably... Well, I don't know that they can. I think he He didn't play at the weekend. And I think there are some rules governing when he can come back into the New Zealand team. So I think we take it now that we're not going to see him in the All Blacks until the end of year tour. And he'll have to play. He will have to show that he's got the capability to be there. But I'm sure
he
it
must
is
have been
there.
tempted though. God, I mean, if he's been playing as well as he's been playing in top 14 and things, and he's back and he's ready to play NPC rugby.
Hasn't played any rugby in New Zealand though. I think might be the issue there.
Right. Okay. And then you've got, as far as we've got wingers, we've got midfield covered. We still haven't quite sorted out.
Just to put a clarifier on that. Because Geordie Barrett came straight back in, but he'd been on a sabbatical.
Okay, so that's different. This is the wording, right? Yeah. Okay, so and have we sorted in our own minds who plays outside him? In that first test against Argentina, do you think it's a Barrett-Proctor combination again?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure of that. I think they need to give Billy Proctor another chance, but who knows? They'll pick a team according to what they see is important on the day. But I like the idea of giving that combination just a bit more time together because it's so important.
Yeah. So 2 tests in Argentina. I like the fact that we are playing 2 over there. I think that, rather than splitting these 1 and 1, I like going over there playing 2. I think it's actually better for both the home side and the away side, isn't it? Because you start getting that touring thing going.
And that time away from the bubble. I think the Goldfish Bowl in New Zealand, time on the road's really valuable.
Yeah.
It's something that's always been a strength of New Zealand teams. Just one last thing before we move on from that. Firstly, you congratulate the new guys. That's really good. There's four new faces.
4 new names in there. Yeah.
Which is good.
Parker,
Mafileo,
Preston and Carter. Yeah.
There's a talking point there. Mafileo, obviously a very strong man. They obviously like his scrummaging ability. I thought George Dyer might have been a shot there. Kyle Preston, we've talked about. Carter, we've talked about. Simon Parker, we've talked about. And then you've got the backup players as well, the likes of George Bauer, Josh Lord, Finn Christie. In all, they have named 42 players. There's no room for Dalton Papali'i or Ethan Blackadder.
Yeah, I'm surprised about the Blackadder thing, Tony, because we thought once he started playing again, that would probably elevate him.
Yeah.
Does this rule all of these names in out of the South African series?
No, it does. Who knows what might happen with injuries, but it just gives you an idea of what the pecking order is, and that Papali'i, Blackadder and Leo Willie, at the moment, they're not in that top pecking order. But I mentioned 42 players. Here's an interesting one, starting from the bottom and working up in terms of representation. 1 from Moana Pacifica, 3 from the Highlanders, 5 from the Blues, 9 from the Hurricanes, 9 from the Crusaders, 15 from the Chiefs.
Wow. Okay.
So any talk that was doing the rounds
of there being Crusaders
being
heavy,
a Crusader-centric team, I think we can safely put that one to bed.
DSPN.